Well, mythological fiction is one of my favorite genres, and to be specific, Indian mythology is something that I always love picking. So, this time I picked a new author who was new to me. The name of the author was Anand Neelakantan, and this is the book Vanara, the Legend of Bali, Sugreeva and Tara that I received in a mystery box. I believe if you are like my regular viewer, you must have seen that unboxing. If not, you'll find the link in the description box below. Do check it out. 30 plus items like handicrafts and handmade bookmarks and all those things you'll find in that unboxing. But let's talk about this book a little bit, but let's first roll the intro. Hey guys, welcome back to my new video. I hope everyone's doing absolutely fine. For those new to my channel, I'm Divyam and you'll find book reviews, unboxings, vlogs, and a lot many other fun stuff related to books and fandom. So if you find that kind of stuff, you can hit the subscribe button. And now let's start this video. I'll be reviewing this book and it's on the occasion of Hanuman Jayanti. I believe this will drop on Tuesday. So it was the perfect time to read this one, and I got this book from my TBR game that I did like at the start of this month. We're talking about this book, but before that, I don't know how many of you grew up watching Ramayana or reading Ramayana. Like I've been watching that TV series. Like there have been different kind of adaptations, different type of like animated movies at the same time, like normal movies related to Ramayana. So I have seen it quite often on television, so I know basics of Ramayana. I know all those characters, so I know Bali, Sugriva and Tara are an integral part of like Ramayana, but not too many chapters are dedicated to them. Not too many episodes in the series are dedicated to them, maybe a few minutes at max. So that's their story. Like they're not fully explored in Ramayana, in original Ramayana on television or in books, but Anand Neelakantan finally bring those characters to life and shed light on them. Let's review it, but before that, let me give you all a plot summary for this one. Well, starting with the plot summary of this book, but before that, let me tell you a little information that I already know about Ramayana, about these three characters, Bali, Sugriva and Tara. So Bali and Sugriva actually had a row in original Ramayana. They used to fight, they were drifted apart due to some reasons, and that was the reason like they were like constantly fighting in original Ramayana, that I have seen, I have read. I thought this book will be exploring that segments only, but it didn't. It started with the birth of these two brothers, and they were living in an ashram. I can't really recall that ashram, the name of the ashram, but they were under Ahilya, that we know from original Ramayana how Lord Rama helped her from the punishment she was in, and that was the story of Ahilya. So these two brothers were under her. They used to call her mother, and Bali was one like brother who used to like get angry at small things, and Sugriv was like a little calm one. So they were living in that ashram, but due to some reasons they were like kicked out of that ashram. They had to run from that ashram and they started living on their own. And that's the segment when they came across new people, new Vanara's people. Like this was the tribe that they got to. They were not fully accepted by that village. They were not considered, like they were considered as outsiders, and they were not even given a proper space to live in that village. In the same village, these two brothers actually fell in love with a girl named Tara. So this book actually explores the love triangle between Bali, Sugriva and Tara, and I believe this was one of the oldest like love triangles we can come across from our Indian epics. So that was the story about the same, and it also explores like how Bali wanted to like make his own kingdom, and how he got education, how he got that thought process and started building his own empire named Kiskinda that we know from our old Indian epics. So that was the plot summary of this book, and as I've said, it explores these three characters in the limelight and have so many other characters from our Ramayana. So let's talk about what I liked and disliked from this book, and we'll be giving reasons for the same, and we'll be discussing some more bits from this plot. Well, now I'll be talking about the things that I liked from this read, and as I've said, Anand Neelakantan's this was my first time reading any of Anand Neelakantan, so I am pretty new to it, and one of the first things that I liked from this read was related to writing style of the author. So in the prelude itself, author actually cleared that he won't be including the pop culture bits in his books. Like too often we have seen, be it Amish Tripathi, Kevin Missel, or any other author brings in that science, bring in that pop culture into their books, but that was not the case with Anand Neelakantan's Vanara. He wrote this book in terms of like you can say historical fiction, that he actually made a point at the very start of this book, and that I actually liked because I felt like I was reading some kind of original text, though there were bits of fiction included in it because it's a mythological fiction, but again it was on the lines of historical fiction. There was so less of science and all those things in these books, and that I actually liked from the part of author. The second thing that I liked from Anand Neelakantan's part is that he took up a challenge to write about these three characters. Like in the prelude itself, he talked about how he wanted to write a novella or short story related to these three characters, but he took up the challenge to write this book. He came up with this big book after having word with his publishers. So that was one great thing, because we don't know about these three characters, and a full-fledged book actually helped me in knowing about these three characters. And I think novella or short story wouldn't be sufficient about these three characters, these three epic characters from Ramayana. So that was the thing that I liked about this read, that they explored these three characters in depth, and would give my thumbs up to Anand Neelakantan for coming up with this book. Well, the third thing is related to the good and bad Anand Neelakantan brought in these three characters. So one of the things that we saw in Ramayana is that Bali is always shown as cruel. He's shown like he doesn't have any kind of heart or something like that. But this author actually changed that bits for me, because Bali was shown as a good human being at the start of this book, and how he brought that changes in himself was a different thing altogether. And that I actually like, because Sugreeva was shown as an evil character, evil human being in this kind of a book. That was the thing that I actually liked, and that actually shown how good he's a writer. But reading first time and experiencing his book for the very first time, I came across those differences that everyone was talking about, like from good to bad, from bad to good. I actually like this read. Well, the fourth point is related to how Anand Neelakantan actually brought in all those cameos of the characters from original Ramayana, from original epic, like Lord Rama, Lord Hanuman, Jatayu, and all those characters were having their cameo in this book. And that I actually like, because the cameos I have seen in movies and films, like how big character, big personality makes a cameo in movie, and how he gets that limelight. So that I actually like, be it Lord Rama, be it Lord Hanuman or Ravana, all those characters had cameo in this book. Well, the fifth point is related to some teachings and lessons from this book, and some learnings, you can say. So one of those things related to Bali and Sugriva at the start of this book was related to how they were not accepting their own past, they were not accepting their personality. Like if someone called them monkey, if someone called them Vanara, they were like getting angry and all those things. But later they came across all those new experiences in their life. They came across how to accept themselves as an individual, and that's what actually happens in our real life as well. We shouldn't disgrace all those things we actually have, and we should be proud of who we are and what we do. So those were the few lessons that these two brothers learned, and we as a reader, we actually learn from every other book we read. So that was the learning we get from this book, and that I actually like, that this author actually came up with those contemporary topics and mixed it in his books. So that was the fifth point, and those were all the 5 points that I wanted to discuss in the things that I like from this book. Let's discuss the things that I didn't like from this book. Well, now I'll be discussing some points I can say that influenced my rating to give this book actually 4 stars. Like I was going towards 5 stars, but then I gave this book 4 stars. And what were the reasons related to it? Though I didn't really dislike anything from this book, but I had a couple of points, so I will be discussing those. Well, one of the first things that came into my mind while picking this book was related to whether it will be a repetition of Ramayana or not. Well, that was not the case for the very first half of this book, but that actually changed, or you can say it wasn't that repetitive in the second half of this book, but it was kind of predictable for me as a reader, because I know about Ramayana. So second half was something that I didn't enjoy too much, because I know about all those things, though they were fictional elements, though they were new information and all those things. But that's not a major reason for me to dislike this book. But I just wanted to point out that the second half of this book is quite on the similar lines of Ramayana, and it became quite predictable. So if you are a reader who have actually read, who have actually seen the Ramayana, then the second half maybe will be pretty slow for you, will be pretty predictable for you. Well, the second point, I'll be discussing that big leap that majority of the Indian authors take while writing, while coming up with these mythological fiction reads. So one of the things that happened with Sugriva and Bali was related to when they were in their teenage, when they were a part of that ashram. They actually went to some other place to learn about all those politics, learn about all those how to build their kingdom, and how to play like devas or asuras. What I didn't like in this scenario was related to how the author took a big leap of some years, and then these characters were back to that village. Like, why not show us some details, how they took up that education, what were the difficulties they found in that city and all those things. But we don't get that information, what they learned in that city. and that actually happened in this book as well. I was hoping that will not be a case in these kind of books, but that actually again happened. I know it's not a big deal for majority of the readers, but I do want to know about how they came across all those things. Maybe one reasons for that can be because I am a big fan of fantasy, because I am a big fan of big books, because I'm a big fan of politics. Like, I just love books with politics in it, and when authors miss those steps, I just feel why shouldn't they just had those information included in that book, in their book. And that can be a personal choice. If you are fine with that, that's good for you, but I just feel from teenager to till their manhood, why not include all those details in their book? Because we know those bits related to Ramayana and all those things, but even if you include those bits, those difficulties they faced in that city, that can be a pretty good deal for readers like me. Well, those were the things that I didn't like from this read, and a couple of more things were related to how chapters were quite rushed at some parts, at some bits, and it had some abrupt ending as well. Like, the scenes that gave me goosebumps in some parts in this book were ending quite abruptly, and it was ending without some, or you can say it was written in a historical fiction mode. That's the reason I was finding them quite abrupt, but I was hoping for some more details to the same. I was finding it too like quick, and I was finding if I had some more details related to the same, it would have made it more refined read for me. So that's the few of the things that I didn't like from this read. Other than that, I think it's quite good, and you should definitely pick this one if you are a fan of Indian mythology, if you're a fan of mythological fiction, and that too from Indian authors. So I gave this read 4 stars out of 5, and I just loved it and can't recommend any more. You can just pick this read whenever you get some time, and if you are into Ramayana or some Indian epics, then definitely pick this one. You will definitely like it. So that was my recommendation on Hanuman Jayanti, on the occasion of Hanuman Jayanti. I hope you liked this video. I am pretty much sure that I'll be reading new books by Anand Neelakantan very soon. Let's see when I get my hands on his new books. So that was all for this video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, you can hit the like button. You can comment down below and let me know your thoughts related to this book, this author, or maybe any other Indian mythology in general. So that was all. You can share this video with your friends and family so that I can get a little more reach. You can subscribe to my channel if not then already. Will be catching up real soon. Stay healthy, stay home, stay safe, and for now, bye bye.